Reconvene open session, 6.0, reconvene open session, procedural business 5.
Oh.
So you didn't hear me. 6.0, reconvene open session, procedural business 5:30 p.m. 6.1, call to order. Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening opening session at 5. I can't see there's a 5:40.
Yes.
Roll call. Trustees will identify themselves. Bill Mellinger, trustee area 1.
Dan Vidlin, trustee area 2. Cindy Gardner, trustee area 3.
Jordan Rodney, trustee area 5, Running Springs, Bear Lake, Green Valley.
And I'm going to say that Natalie Lindemann is away for some personal family. This is a special celebration, so she is not here. So that is why I asked the clerk of leading the meeting. I would like to ask Ngazi to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. 7.0 closed session report. We do not have any actions to report.
None.
Was there?
No, we won't take a lot. This is different, so these things we go back to, correct? To vote on?
I thought we did, but we do it. Rpa is under an agenda item. Yes. Very well.
Voted in the session, right?
Correct.
Exactly, so you have to vote, you have to report out that action.
That's 3.5. The rest, we're going to go back and close session.
Okay, so we do have an item to report back on, and that is item 3.5, settlement agreement and resignation of employee number 479. And that was approved. Anything else you need to say? And moving back to continue with 8.0, we all there?
Yes.
Stick together.
Public testimony. Just before I read this, I'm going to share one thing. I have to step out because I'm making a presentation tonight at 6 o'clock for our early act clubs at Valley Ridge Elementary School. We are reporting to all of District 53-0 Rotary District about early act to try to encourage other schools to have an early act club. So I need to step out and away from the chair's position tonight. So I'm going to ask one of you to preside. Dan, since you are the immediate past president, would you be willing to preside at that time? Okay, so that will not be for another, I'm not going to step out for about another 12 minutes. Okay, Dan? But if I'm sorry if you're giving a message at that moment, I will try to hesitate and wait and stop and turn it over to you. Okay? With that, 8.0, public testimony. 8.1, public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a green speakers form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Rim of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure, BPAR 1312.1, has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Decorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. 8.2, public comments. And go in this order. So we're going to start with Jim Olson, representing Jim Olson, topic RHS Math Department. Please, Jim.
Work. Just
Yes,
push
Push the button, please, Jim. Thank you. The button has been pushed. Good job.
All right. I'm here to speak about I wrote this. I didn't write anything down, but Mr. Longo is in our math department, and he has been able to this past year, I think it was with COVID money, been able to be a math coach, not only for students, which has been awesome. He has one class, but a lot of students know who he is because he welcomes kids into his classroom to talk about all kinds of stuff. But he's been able to look into all kinds of things that are helping the math department. So he's coaching us, and I've been teaching 22 years, and he's been looking into data and best practices and things that we as teachers could use our time for, but if we did, we'd be taking family time away from when we go home. I mean, we've got enough to do when we're here and focus on teaching and having our prep period, but the things that he's been able to do when we get together as a math department have just been incredible. We've started on a direction of doing standard-based learning, which is the direction that things seem to be going. And without his time to be able to look into different things, I don't see how we could have done it. And I think he's going to be going back into the classroom, probably 5 periods, which is awesome for the students that will be in his class. He's an awesome teacher. But I don't know what's going to happen with the direction we've been heading with all the work that he's been doing. I don't want to see that work come to a halt. I wanted to see it move forward. And I feel like Chris is the kind of guy that will do it in his own time and take away. He has 2 kids and a beautiful wife, and I think it's going to take away from the time that he will be spending with his family because the work is that important, and I don't want to see that happen. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Sounds like he's done a good job, and thank you for being a learner. Amanda Markovich, RHS teachers. And what's best for our students, quote unquote, what's best?
Okay, just a little taller than me, can you hear me? In the 18th century, Voltaire said, "The best is often the enemy of the good." This quote is also translated as, "The perfect is often the enemy of the good." The quote is as true today as it was in the 18th century. Voltaire is implying that in all processes or human activity, it is necessary to find a balance between the intended purpose and the resources used in achieving that. I'm not here today in a unique capacity, but as a very concerned high school teacher. I am concerned for the future of our wonderful high school I graduated from. Recent decisions involving staffing, such as the ones we just talked about, and programs for next year are explained by the phrase, "It's what's best for the students." Teachers are being taken away from programs and classes they are passionate about in order to ensure we have no fits or extra periods next year. This is not what is best for the student. It saves the district money, and there's a difference. There needs to be a balance between having many extra periods and none at all. The scheduling a few extra periods creates optimal experiences for our students. Those extra periods need to happen. Every year, administrators are told to eliminate extra periods. And every year it is realized that some exceptions have to be made to do what is right for our students. Teachers are being forced to teach things they don't want to teach because it is best for the students. It is not best for the students. It's easiest on the master schedule. Taking the teacher away from a subject they have taught for over 20 semesters and giving them a new subject to prep for is not best for the students. It's just easier to schedule. I understand that currently there are too many extra sections. Please encourage the district to find a balance between too many and none at all. Staff is upset, morale is low, and people are looking elsewhere for jobs. This is not good for the kids. You have to consider how much will the savings of eliminating all this actually cost the district in the long run. Is it worth losing expert teachers? Is it worth having a large teacher shortage? Is it worth compromising our standards for our programs? I would also like to remind the board that the people who know what's actually best for our students are those in closest proximity to the students. The farther away people are from the students, the less they connect with students' needs and desires. The teachers talk to the students every day. We know what they need. Please listen to us. The district believes the best schedule is the least expensive. That is not always the case, especially when kids and staff suffer as a result. How often has the best been what costs the absolute least? Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda. I don't think there are any other public comments, so we'll move on to 8.3 RTA and CSEA representatives. And looks like we have our RTA representative.
Yes.
I have to step out, so I'm going to do it now. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I wasn't thinking about what I had to do. Let's sit over here. Sorry. It's our kids.
Yes. So, good evening, cabinet and board. First of all, we would like to say as a union, we would like to thank you for collaborating with us on our salary settlement. Our staff has worked very hard to ensure that the students this year had a successful year back in school. We understand that as a district, we have to look at fiscal responsibility to ensure that we survive as a district in the long run. But our staff is the heart of our district, and we appreciate your recognition of that fact. We still have a lot to work on as a collaborative team to make sure that we are efficient but welcoming enough to make our district one where people actually want to work at. We need to improve communication with insights and throughout the various levels within our district. We need to improve on making sure that employees feel comfortable with their colleagues and supervisors to maintain a positive work environment. We need to make sure that we have enough teachers to stay staffed for the entire year. Because as you know, like Mr. Olson said, we have classes that still have teachers with no teachers. And we have other teachers who are essentially taking the hard work, putting in the passion, the time, the energy to make sure that those students have some kind of continuity and normalcy within the school year. Keeping our schools clean is another reoccurring issue that is affecting the overall staff morale, as you may know. And again, and I will say it again and again, the retention and the attraction of substitutes is also something that we still have a concern with, because again, we try to do all of these things to ensure that we create a successful program for all of our students, but again, it's hard when you have the subs to actually so, and the list just goes on. I just know as a union, we understand the motivation for changing some of the policies, norms, and practices that we currently do as a district to ensure that we are efficiently running, and to make sure that we're doing what's best for students. But if I can just be honest, we do have some reservations. But again, we are hopeful and we would like to continue this positive collaborative relationship with the cabinet, with the board to make sure that we do what's best for our kids. We just want to make sure that we have an input when it comes to the things that are to come within the district. We look forward to collaborating with the board and to make sure that we're stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Almost forgot I needed to do this. Is there anybody here from CSEA? Okay, moving on to 9.0, governing board members, reports and announcements. 9.1, governing board members. I am going to start with Cindy.
Okay, so I have a legislative report, so I'll be doing a lot of the speaking with that. So I'll try to keep it short. I just want to thank I do want to thank unions for coming together, collaborating in negotiations, and reaching agreement. I do want to thank all staff, classified as well as administration, as well as teachers. During this year, it's been tough. It's been tough to not see a full-time teacher in classrooms where the regular teacher retired, resigned, whatever it was. So I appreciate those concerns immensely. I know that as a parent, I had a child that had a long-term sub, and so I understand the concerns of parents as well as colleagues. It's a little bit tough to try to do team lead, group level meetings and someone you're not really sure how long you're going to be there. So I appreciate that, juggling of responsibilities. On the other end, I'm really excited that we are having prom in person, graduation in person. I am so excited that the 8th graders are going to Scott Park, that there's a dance. I am so grateful for those that are coming from the elementary levels to rack and stack the Mph PTA, and they have such great energy and ideas. And I'm really excited that 5th grade parents are really taking the bull by the horns and willing to do that while they're still at their elementary school. So I really appreciate that. So excited. I really also want to thank Julie Scorzel and Jessica Erlanger, as well as our high school counselors for the college health class. The last one was last night with the juniors. It's been a pleasure to work with our kids to go through the journey of the college application highs and lows, and the stresses and the basket case experiences. It's really it's really an emotional roller coaster. And as we get close to the May 1st ultimate deadline of where you're going to go, I just want to say it's been such a joy to see our students get excited about where they got accepted and to see where they're potentially going to land at, and all the hard work that was done by everybody, families and staff, teachers and admin and their colleagues, their fellow students. And it's just adorable to see someone, a student in the hallway, literally just coming unglued with her choices and saying, I'm at UCLA and I got accepted at Berkeley and I got accepted here. I'm gonna make the wrong choice. I'm like, you cannot make the wrong choice. I mean, UCLA, no, I'm just kidding. I did not say that. What I'm saying is that it's just adorable to see them so excited about their future. And it's great that we were able to provide that jumping off point. Next, I'm going to be flying on Saturday to Coast, which is a collaborative, a joint venture by AXA and California State Board Association, CSBA. We're going to Washington, D.C. to meet with various departments and our congressmen, our legislators, to talk education, maybe hitting points such as funding for Title I, especially special education, really hard. There's, I think, 167 superintendents and school board members who are going. There's 23 from District 16, which encompasses San Bernardino. And I'm just really excited. I've been prepping for it. And we actually have a meeting with the Department of Education, which is a huge win. And we're just prepping, and we have our talking points. We've already had a webinar where we discussed it so that we, so I don't sound like an idiot, I guess is a good way to say it. So I want to say that I'm really excited to be able to bring the RIM story of special education, Title I and such to. Thank you, Jenny, for your figures, because I use them all the time. And so really excited about representing RIM. So that's what I gotta say. That's it. That's it. Thanks, Cynthia. Jordan, you want to go ahead?
I'll start on that. On the note of advocacy that Cynthia brought up, the state of California has faced a large decline in enrollment over the past year statewide in public education. And there was a recent report that suggests that the state of California will face decline in enrollment through 2050. So with that, it's been a long road ahead. It's getting a lot of attention statewide because a lot of districts are facing declining enrollment. And that, because of the way that the state funds our public schools, it is affecting funding significantly. And there's many reports of some districts that have been in hot water for years, like Oakland Unified. And there are some, even close to home, like Inglewood, that are facing very, very tough financial constraints. The positive end of this is that it's bringing up a lot of discussion on the way that the state funds schools. And there might be possibilities, I think in the coming years, I'm hopeful that it will change the way that public schools are funded so that they have the allocation and resources needed to effectively prepare our next generation of students. So just a small note on funding. I know I always talk about it, but this weekend is a very eventful weekend. I've been invited on Saturday to the high school jazz concert at the resort. The Student Arts Festival. It's the first day of the Running Springs Farmers Market, and it's also Running Springs' community cleanup day. It's a very busy day. I still don't know how my day is going to be constructed. I know I won't be able to make it to everything, but if you happen to see me, I'd be really curious to hear your feedback on things that we can advocate for as a school board, feedback of what can be improved upon in our district. I know we put out a community survey already about our new superintendent search, but I would really love to hear that feedback directly. If you have anything like that, or tell us, or things that you would like the board to keep in mind when doing that superintendent search. Otherwise, of course, always reach out to me, and an email, we can set up a day to meet or a phone call, whatever works best. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. I'll go ahead now, and hopefully Bill will be here. I'll probably be brief though, so we might come on to the next. Talking about superintendent, I'm looking at my notes. It's always hard to go last because everybody talks about the things that you want to talk about. But to add to what Jordan said, the next couple of weeks, we're really going to be very busy with trying to find a excellent superintendent to replace an excellent superintendent, and it's going to be very challenging. And we've already received some really fantastic feedback from the community with surveys that have been sent out. However, I want to hear more. So if anybody does wish to have, sit down and have coffee or tea and talk about it, I'd love to. So just reach out to me through email, however, and I think the rest of us also feel the same way. So we want to get this right. And so we understand how incredibly important it is. So, and we also realize that we are represent you. And so in order to be able to properly represent you, we need to have whatever information we can so we can make those thoughtful, excellent decisions. One other thing that I do want to mention, I'm going to keep it brief, is I'm just very proud mom. Cindy was talking about how our high school students are having fantastic opportunities facing them. My son Harrison, a lot of you know him, and also some of you taught him, and he is graduating from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in June in 3 years with his bachelor's in econ and a minor in math. And he has applied and got into one of the best programs in the world in econ. He went to Northwestern University next year, full ride, and they're paying to go there. And it's phenomenal. It's top tier university. It's considered to be the second best program in the world for IO for econ. So it's crazy. And frankly, he is a product of this community. He is a product of Rand through and through. And so I'm proud, but I do believe the community has a right to be proud too, because he's a really quirky dude, and he is what he is because of all the loving feedback the community has provided him over the years. And so I just wanted to express my gratitude and also share with my pride. So thank you. And Bill has not returned yet, so we'll go ahead on to Superintendent 9.2. Michelle, take it away.
All right, I'm just going to talk about a couple things that have been happening and that I've been knowing to. First of all, I wanted everyone to know we passed out 400 COVID test kits to families for spring break. We're going to be doing that again for the Memorial holiday for employees and for staff in case you're traveling who would like those tests. So we'll be doing that again, apply for more state tests for free. So that's good for our community. Yeah, I'm very excited that Cindy mentioned prom and graduation are going to be quote unquote normal again. I had people reach out about the ski lift. That was the thing I forgot to do today. So I will be reaching out to Snow Valley and see if they're going to do that again for us. So I've been talking with the high school folks. I went to the wrestling banquet on Monday night. It was really fun to be up in at the camp and watching how well our wrestlers succeeded in all the achievements that they made and how many kids led it. I think it was almost like all of the team, except very few. So that was pretty fun to attend that with Ms. Burke. I attended the Equity and Social Justice Committee meeting this week, and just been really busy with my calendar and getting out to events and to sites. So I'm looking forward to the end of the year activities and having those things come back and not be hybrid drive-throughs and things like that. So I'm looking forward to graduation. I'm going to ask Heather Grace to talk slightly about the master's schedule at the middle school and high school for part of my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. I know there's some concern out there as changes are being made in the master's schedule, and I wanted to assure you that the master's schedule is being driven by student selection and student choices. We worked with our counselors, our administrators at high school and at the middle school, looking at who signed up for what and their choices. And I'm pleased to tell you that we actually are going to be offering 17 sections of advanced placement. We're going to, which is up 4 from this current year. So kids are demanding more of the same type of courses. Unfortunately, that does mean choices had to be made. And that meant that one of our classes only had 15 kids select to sign up for it. And we have to make choices between there's 30 that want this class and 15 that want this class, and we can only offer one or the other. We've gone that route. So for AP computers, we're going to be providing UC Scout, AP UC Scout, which they can take that course. We pay for that. There's a teacher on the other end that does that. It's a fiscally savvy way to do that and offer that for our seniors. Hopefully next year, our current sophomores, as they become juniors next year, and their seniors the following year, their senior year, hopefully we'll have enough to be able to offer that course for them. The same with AP Biology. We're on an every other year rotation for that. This year is our non-rotation year, but there's some other options from college that if they happen to miss that rotation, we want to do a really good job of getting that information out to our families and to our students. It's all on the website that talks about that. We want to do more communication with that. I also like to just highlight the work that was done at our middle school to push towards more inclusion for our special education students and creative use of staffing and pushing that they would be in almost all inclusion models. Almost all, there's always need for sometimes the more restricted environment, but they're moving towards that model, and the collaboration between the teachers and the administration, both regular ed and special ed, has been inspiring.
Thank you. 9.3, student representative report, Zachary Lawrence, Rim of the World High School.
I'm gonna blow this thing out. All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Sorry I wasn't here at this last meeting. We just wrapped up our boys volleyball season. I was the team captain. Last night was actually our final game for our league championship. We're not going to CIF this year, but we did make it to our league playoffs, which we haven't done in the last 6 years. But I'm here tonight. We have my presentation here for the school site updates. We're getting close to the end of the year. We have less than 2 months. We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on, especially at the high school for our seniors. Going to start off. Should probably check that first. All right, so for our elementary schools, at all of the schools in the district, actually, we have begun our CASP and our CAS testing. Those will be included in the following slides as well. They started at the elementary schools, and all of those will be completed by the end of next month. All of the 5th grade classes visited Mph for a welcome tour and talk of lunch there to get all of the incoming students at Mph a little bit acquainted with the campus. All of the RIM schools are participating in the first round of the RIM readathon. Students have their bingo card for literacy that is based on activities, and they compete and exchange for an opportunity to win prizes every day at the elementary campuses. All of the elementary sites as well have received new lunch tables to replace any of the old damaged or broken lunch tables in their cafeterias. The PTA is sponsoring a nature night, which is an outside event taking place at VOE on April 27th and at CAG on April 28th, both from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Their open houses are coming up. For CAG will be on May 19th. Their science night at VOE is happening on May 19th. That's in March. The science night at VOE is happening April 26th. That's from 4:30 to 6:30. And for LAE, their open house is happening May 25th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The LAE staff and PTA and Cubby welcome students and families Friday morning before their break for a traditional kindness sprinkling. And the LAE trimester 3 leader in the service project is for the Mountain Humane Society, which will be held throughout the entire month of May. So make sure to keep an eye out for information on how you all can help with donations for that. Next up, we have our Mph section. Their LCAP goal number 1, the instruction, student learning, and professional development. Like I said, all of these schools have been working on their CASP testing. Their prep week was earlier this month, and they have began their testing. All of the students and parents have received an information letter regarding the CASP testing and options for test prep and at-home online practice tests. And also, students will be able to compete in their CASP prep for an entry into a raffle for an In-N-Out gift card to help encourage these students to really get prepared for these tests. One of the test prep options that's being offered is the Steps to Success Student and Family Nights that will be hosted at Mph in English on April 12th. And in Spanish, or I'm sorry, they were hosted on April 12th and was hosted in Spanish on April 13th. And the important information shared in those meetings were regarding the importance of the CASP test and what they mean to the students and the district. The testing started on April 18th and will go through May 9th. And all of the students are being encouraged to rest up, eat a healthy breakfast, get to school, ready to test their best. And their avid write-off winner, 8th grade student Alan Rodriguez, he is here on the left next to the Mph math teacher, Miss Phillips. He won the avid write-off competition in an exceptional essay regarding kindness within his peers and at Mph in general. Mph also continues to be thankful for TOSA's support to student achievement, professional growth, scope and sequence development, and especially the parent family nights. Those really help to get the community involved with what's going on in campus. We'd like to give a shout out to Ms. Rpa and Mr. Wallace for all of their help with our testing. Moving on to the Rhs updates, I'd like to give Mr. Wallace and Ms. Rpa a shout out as well for our LPAC testing. Welcome back. We have been, like I said, working on our CASP and CASP testing. Last week, all of the 11th and 12th graders completed the CASP test, and this week, 11th graders are looking at the English language CASP test. Next week, the 11th graders will take the math CASP test, and our freshmen and sophomores will be taking the ICAs, as well as seniors the week before last took our science test, as well as our juniors. And as far as AP testing, I did just get word that those will be administered paper pencil this year, the traditional way on campus. We have 166 exams ordered, and 75% of students enrolled in the AP classes are taking those AP exams. For our athletics, we received the sportsmanship award for the Citrus Belt area. We'd like to give a huge shout out to our 7 league champions for this school year. We have football, both girls and boys cross country, girls tennis, baseball, both boys and girls track, girls volleyball, wrestling, and boys baseball, softball, and boys tennis. They all came in second place as well. It's a really big year for RIM sports. So excited for all of them. And for our happenings at RIM, very excited about these. We will be hosting Club Rush on the 29th of this month for clubs and sports teams to host games and activities in the old gym to help raise funds for the programs for next year. We have prom in person. That is going to be at the East Valley Water District on May 21st. The theme is going to be fairy tale this year, and tickets are already on sale. We've already been selling tickets. I know our juniors and seniors this year are really excited about that. Our senior scholarship interviews are underway currently. I personally had mine yesterday. We had some students taking theirs today, and I believe we have some tomorrow as well. And we have received many compliments about how inviting the newly decorated room 101 is.
Yes.
It's pretty. It's lovely. And then our senior scholarship night, what all of these interviews are leading up to, will be hosted on May 24th here at RIM in the PAC. Our grad night is going to be that following Thursday on May 26th. That's going to be hosted at Disneyland. Finally, going to have a grad night. I know the seniors are really excited about that this year. Might be a little biased on that. And then our graduation will be held on June 8th at 4 p.m. It's going to be a traditional in-person graduation here at RIM. It's going to be the very first traditional graduation since the pandemic started. First one in 3 years. It's a really big deal.
So Zach is asked to be excused from the board meeting on grad night, so we're gonna allow that to happen. He's gonna come to the first one in June, so we can honor his.
I will be here in June and hopefully through summer as well until the, my replacement for next year is able to fill in come the beginning of the school.
Other than what to that senior scholarship night is one of my favorites. I cry every single time, and you guys are all on the stage, and you guys are all excited, and I'm excited, and then I cry.
I hope I'm not scared of running.
Yeah, wear the waterproof.
And then for our Mountain High School Eagle highlights, they had 20 seniors graduate thus far this year, with 6 more seniors that should finish their credits when the grade check occurs on June 3rd. Seniors are getting really excited about the end of the year activities, purchasing caps and gowns, which we will be receiving at the end of May at our senior barbecue. We, like I said, have prom coming up. Mountain has the senior day at Sky Park, and then the Mountain graduation on June 7th. 2 of the teachers went to a Capturing Kids' Hearts conference these past couple of days, and Principal Mr. Nygren and another teacher going to a restorative justice workshop on Monday. They're working with Sierra School Supply, who will be helping to look at student furniture configurations for the classrooms to create a more conducive learning environment for all the students. And they're working with a consultant to make changes to improve their program, including offering variable credits. And then for the RIM Virtual Academy Home Choice School Program, the CASP testing has begun with them as well. And it started today actually with the 3rd and 4th grade students. The TK through 6 teachers are planning a field trip to go to the Big Bear Zoo on May 11th. They are meeting for a new site for the school next year to be hiring full-time teachers for grades 7 through 12. They will be surveying current parents to see who will stay in the school next year so that they can staff appropriately based on enrollment. And they will be opening it to anyone on the mountain and will announce soon how to register for the virtual academy. And also parents and students voted on the school mascot and the RIM Virtual Academy on how it holds. And that concludes my presentation. You guys have any questions? Open, if not.
Can you repeat the date for the scholarship?
That is going to be May 24th here in the PAC.
Ceremony starts at 6.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. I believe that the baseball team is undefeated. Is that not true? Undefeated right now.
Was their first league champ, their first winning of the league championship since 2002.
And this is only the 7th time that they have won the league championship, and they won it with the 6th time. And in fact, I understand that they had a no-hitter against the 2nd place team, not too shabby there either. So
Look at you, Bill. You did the stats. Big Scully.
So interesting. Congratulations to all of our teams. And baseball is not done yet.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. 10.0, public hearing. 10.1, procedure for public hearings. Public hearings are required on specific items such as input regarding the update of statutory school facility fees imposed on new residential and commercial industrial construction pursuant to Education Code Section 17620 and Government Code Section 65995. Persons who wish to address the governing board on a matter set for a public hearing must complete a goldenrod speakers form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Once the board president opens the public hearing, individual speakers are then permitted up to 3 minutes to support, oppose, or otherwise offer an opinion on the issue. The board limits the total time for public input to 20 minutes. When public input has concluded, the board president will close the public hearing. I don't believe we have any. So should I continue reading that? Okay, or can I move to 10.2?
No, just go to
10.2, correct?
yes.
Thank you. 10.2, notice of public hearing of the Rim of the World Unified School District approving to update statutory school facility fees imposed on new residential and commercial industrial construction pursuant to Education Code Section 17620 and Government Code Section 65995. Public hearing is open at 6:25 p.m. We have any other speakers that we have to?
None at this time, no.
Then if there are no speakers, I call for hearing. Public hearing will be closed at 6:26 p.m. 11.0 reports and presentations. 11.1 finance and facilities, budget and average daily attendance update report. Jenny Haberlin, Chief Business Official.
Hello, thank you all very much this evening. I have a relatively short report for you today. But I always I can get long-winded when I'm talking about enrollment and budget, so I'll keep it short. But anyway, we are just finishing up our attendance month 8 in the school district, and we normally have our P2 funding date is normally carried through the our P2 funding is through the month 8, and but this year it's going to be through month 9. So this month's ADA and enrollment won't be what we're ultimately funded on, and that's because a 1 attendance month is a 4-week period from the start of school, and we report our cumulative attendance for funding purposes by the last 4-week period prior to April 15th. So April 15th is the end of our month 9 on the spot. So now month 9 becomes our P2 number. So it's just how our first day of school fell. We can play with weeks such as spring break and winter break to like exclude or not those weeks. And Scott White and I do that in our office. Would it be advantageous to change the calendar to exclude those weeks or not in the calculation? And it didn't make any difference one way or the other. So, but we concluded with our enrollment on month 8. And our current enrollment is 2,825 students. We did have a decline of about 21 students. You have I printed out the report, but I also put it in your Dropbox. I don't know if it's not called Dropbox, but in your Google folder. And so we're down about 21 students from the prior month. And for cumulative from our first month of school to month 8, we're actually down 98 students in total. And that's a 3.4% decline and we're normally about a 2% mid-year decline, and we held that trend for really we've had some blip years as we go, but we've really had a 3% decline year over year with a 2% decline during the year, but we are experiencing a 3.4% from the beginning of school to the funding current period of 3.4%. So we're going to watch that a little bit to see, we start planning on enrollment and our projections. And so that is something we're always keeping our eye on it, but it's something that will probably pay a little bit, instead of weekly, maybe daily, look at enrollment. So our current ADA is 2,541.55. And we're still experiencing an 89.97% attendance rate. And so Jordan has touched on, every district in California almost is experiencing declining enrollment, and the state is experiencing declining enrollment. And they're, they have been publishing the dates out that they expect to continue to until 2028, then 2033, I think it was, and now 2050. And there's various reasons for that. That's from birth rates to net negative migration into the state, and just a change of where families are living as well. And there was kind of a sarcastic comment in an article I read today that maybe Sacramento is paying more attention to it now because LA Unified is experiencing declining enrollment. So where some of us small districts have been going, well, we've been experiencing declining enrollment for years, but LA Unified is experiencing it now, so it's getting it more attention, which is, it's a good, it's not a good thing that maybe we haven't paid attention to, but it's a good thing that finally they're starting to look at different ways to fund schools, not only because we have a double-edged sword here, we have declining enrollment and low attendance rates.
So the question I have, I asked this actually when we went to the finance training of John Gray. I asked this and I didn't get their answer, but I know. But here's what I'm confused by, is that we're having declining enrollment across the state. However, education is funded as a percentage of the taxes that are brought in by the government. Wouldn't that then mean that we should be having higher spending per capita?
Well, because Prop 98 is supposed to be a minimum funding, and the state's been treated it as a ceiling. So we're funded at the minimum that the Constitution allows us to be funded at. So yes, when there's a surplus, when there's other, revenue streams coming in, you would think, well, the state doesn't have to no longer fund us at the absolute minimum, but that has not changed for our base revenue. We're funded at the minimum, and when new monies do come, they're coming, categoricals, one time, or special projects that aren't to like a base funding for a school district where it's most helpful.
So what is happening is then the extra, not the extra, but with the lower enrollment, other school districts are receiving higher per capita of the spending.
They may be, because they may be able to competitively compete for a grant that we can't.
There was recently a report done on the average spending per student per year by state. And it did show that California has increased by a couple $1,000s per student per year. But again, that's an average. So I think Jenny makes a good point that a lot of new funding has been going to categoricals, not the base.
And Jordan, was that for COVID, a lot of COVID funds included in that?
No, it didn't include that. And it just for reference, California was middling in the 50 states and closer to the bottom of that mid-range. So a lot of other states are beating us significantly, spending almost $30,000 per student per year. For reference, Arizona, I believe, was at $5,000 per student per year on average. It's a significant difference when you look at that report. I'd be happy to send it to anyone who wants to take a look at it.
Jenny, can I ask a question? What do we do to analyze those students that are leaving, to track them, to find out what happened to them?
I'm not involved in that, so I'm probably not
That's
the
what I
best
thought.
person to ask, but we do have exit reasons that get into the student information system. It may not tell us the why, it may just tell us the where, whether it's out of state or in a public school or a private school. And then I don't know if there's any formal interview process to dive deeper into that. The only record I would have access to is to be able to pull that out of the student information system areas to just, where they went, but it doesn't necessarily tell you why.
Thanks. I knew it wasn't your purview, but I knew you'd know something.
Enough to make me dangerous, maybe, right?
And
Okay.
Jenny and Cindy probably know this too, and maybe we'll mention it a little later. There are some proposed bills dealing with ADA versus enrollment for funding. And I'm probably, I know I'm still your funding.
No, I was gonna say, there's also a bill that, the way it's written, it's aspirational to make California within the top 10 states in per pupil funding. But the wording is aspirational. This bill is setting aspirational goal. So
It expires.
exactly. So the way the wording is just not.
It's a nice thought. Sorry, thank you.
No, that's okay. And our strive for 95, we are still looking at that. And I know it's been tough because we, are having a tough time district-wide, but we do want to celebrate RBA with a 93.35% attendance and Kaufman with 91.01. So let's keep some competition going, even though the majority of the absences are absolutely have no control over. So I also want to just talk about the budget. Right now, we're currently preparing the system kind of more housekeeping wise for the 22-23 budget development. And that is, we have behind the scenes, we have to do things like we have to create models within the system. We have to kind of open up the shells of the different atmospheres we'll be working in as we create the budget. The state system is improving, and they're going to the SAP software that you're used to seeing in result to that might look very similar, but it's a new web-based system. The current system right now is a software that's 27 years old. Turin's laughing because I did show him one of mine that was like a keystroke still system that I have to, like backslash, colon. I'm still doing one system in a software like that. So, but it's, we're going through training right now. And so it might look a little different. I haven't run any reports in it yet because training was today. So, so it'll be hopefully a little user friendly. Right now, I can't print from the 27-year-old system. The Adams County print for me and send it to me because it's not compatible with any of our new printers. So, but we're excited. We'll have the budget development software is the new web-based. The unedited actual will still be in the old software, just how they're transitioning. So we're still using 2 through September. So that's exciting. And just one last bit to touch on is because the majority of my report today was on enrollment and just how we look at that and how that drives so many conversations and so many decisions. So enrollment really is the base where enrollment drives ADA based on trends. ADA drives LCFF funding for what our budget is and the projections for that. Enrollment also drives our staffing needs. And, ensuring that we're staying within contract ratios. And so how many teachers do we need per student in the classroom at the different grade levels? And so, one really piece of data is kind of vital in so many different areas. And that's one of the things we're really, because of just we have a 3.4% decline right now, why we have to really stay on top of that number, because it factors in so many different areas of our budget and our operations. From how many kids will be loaded on a school bus to meals to buy to teachers in the classroom and stuff like that. So it's, we kind of joke about enrollment this and declining enrollment, but we do pay attention to it so much because of how vital it is to the decisions we have to make. So just to touch on a little bit of that. Or any questions?
Declining enrollment is a serious issue that's going to continue to affect us. It affects master scheduling. It affects everything that we do. And something that we have to continue to look at how do we address that as we continue down the road.
Yeah,
Real problem.
as we shrink, there's, it creates its own, it creates more than just a funding problem.
Much. It's a staffing, everybody's affected by it. Thanks. Any questions?
I do, for RPA enrollment, looking at the total, that we had a projected enrollment for RPA of 145. And consistently, we've been, almost half of that number all the way into month 8, but I also,
And those projections were worked on, last year, really, in May. Between February and May of last year, we were building the current year budget, still in the midst of COVID, not knowing what the restrictions are going to be. So a lot of, you can see probably some fluctuations in many of the schools, but that's where it's really the who we had in REA that last year. And, we did have a handful go back to the classroom, knowing, that teaching was going to be maybe a little bit more, quote unquote, normal than it was in the previous years due to COVID. So that was that fluctuation of when we built the projections, we were under one type of living under COVID and assumptions, and then just that span of time when parents had to make that choice of, do I send my student to school or not? We had testing, maybe some comfort level being back in that group and not at home.
so in addition then, as the bottom line projected enrollment was 2771, very last, it's on page 2, but our current month 8 is at 2825.
So we increased over our projections, but we're still decreased over actuals. Does that make sense? So we projected to actually be more of a decline than we experienced this year, and most of that was in our kinder and first grade classes. Yeah. But so we're still declining, but we were increased over our projections, which did have a positive impact on our budget that we made that adjustment last September.
I have had some positive feedback about people remaining in public schools, including in them, since the announcements were made about vaccinations. No decisions were made until July 2023.
Thank you, Jimmy. Setting direction. 11.2, begin board self-evaluation.
Yeah, we haven't even done the,
So this is just basically an announcement.
Oh, thank you.
We've been working with CSBA, and so we have went ahead and we will be getting you the link to complete the survey. We'll need you to do that in a timely manner. Then I will be doing the data desegregation as I've done the past couple of years. That was a savings of like $1,500 if I do that again for the board. So we'll be doing that and going over that in the workshop. And we'll do it by May 5th, because look at the link when.
Hopefully soon. I
Yeah.
spoke with the lady yesterday.
We asked for it yesterday. So you'll be getting that and we'll have it ready for May 5th. You're welcome.
Nothing's happening in the legislature. They're very quiet. Oh. 11.3, legislative update report. Cindy.
so I put in the board doc, well, I sent it to Sue to put it in the board docs. The federal advocacy update, which is really all about the president's budget. But you know how last year went, where he proposed an increase in special education over a 10-year period, which would get us to 40%. That didn't happen, and and then Title I is going to have a huge increase, like triple the amount. That didn't happen. So again, he's going to try again, where Title I is the amount of money is $36.5 billion. And then of course, special education, what is really being proposed with all the combinations of money is a $16.3 billion increase. But the issue is that we have midterms. So will everyone give the president a win on his budget? The answer is no. So really don't expect this. You'll see a lot of delay. You'll see a lot of fighting on this, even if, believe it or not, both parties are advocates for increasing special education. So I don't understand why the politics is hindering the parties from doing the right thing, which is increasing special education. It's very disheartening. So take a look at that because that's interesting. What I want to talk about is the Senator Pan's bill that Michelle has mentioned, the vaccines. He pulled that bill. And so from gossip, there was a lot of pushback from colleagues. And apparently the senator had a hard time leaving his office all the time. So then we have the governor's mandate for vaccinations that's been pushed, like Michelle said. He took that off the table as well. Part of that has to do with the FDA approval of vaccinations for the younger ones. So that is good news for us. So I'm going to piggyback a little bit more on what Jordan said, advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. So we talk about how does RIM kind of compete with LA Unified? It's a big, huge story. How does our little district or Needles or Apple Valley or Silver Valley compete with those big voices? And you just keep at it. You just have to keep telling your story. An example is the Late Start Bill. Working with Jenny and Jen Kewell and Michelle, we worked like 14 options of how that bill could work, but really not work. And then when I was asked to go to testify before the Assembly and the Senate on the bill, that story resonated. Like the whole idea of having our TK students being picked up at 6:22 in the morning for one option in the snow with those big, huge snow berms up in Green Valley Lake actually still resonates with Senator Leyva to this day. She remembers RIM equals the 4-year-olds standing in the snow. Those stories resonate. So working on legislative day, I was only scheduled to do 2 meetings with both Senator Ochoa and Assemblyman Smith. I ended up being in 5 meetings. And one of them was with Senator Leyva, who's the co-author of the Skinner Bill, SB 878, which would mandate home to school transportation for every single district, even if they don't have transportation. And so CSBA's position is we want the state to pay for transportation. We're not asking that every district do it, but those transportation costs should be covered. Because if they are, they take the stress off the general fund because we're not tapping into that to pay for transportation. And transportation should get COLA, just like all the other parts of the budget get COLA. And so I ended up being the talking one on this one. Shocking, I know, but I talked about it and I had a conversation with Jenny. So I want to give a shout out with Jenny because she took me through our challenges right now. The reason why our slow fill station is a problem right now. The line needs to be fixed, that the poor Jen Kewell has to pour hot water on the nozzle because it freezes in cold weather, that it's too much money to upgrade to a quick fill station. Our CNG buses, 4 of them out of the 12 that we purchased just 15 years ago have to have engines replaced. I mean, she gave me nitty-gritty stuff, which, by the way, Jen, I told every single thing, including what the difference is between a slow fill station and quick fill station. And Senator Leyva goes, I didn't even know that there was more than one. And I'm like, oh yeah, there is. And so we talked about any kind of conversation with transportation has to be fully paid and COLA. And so the really cool part is, per what I was told, is that in the report to the CSBA Executive Board of Directors meeting, that Dennis Mayer said that meeting with Senator Leyva caused her to go back and rewrite and refine the language of the bill so that bill is not giving the reimbursement per mile or drive time, it's going to be 100% funded. So, I mean, that's the cool thing about advocacy. If you tell stories about slow fill stations and your board director of transportation pouring hot water on the nozzle because it's frozen, then they remember that stuff. And the other bill that CSBA actually does support, AB 2933, the O'Donnell bill, is again, a transportation bill, 100% funded transportation with COLA, but the difference is with this bill is that it's not mandating home to school transportation. It's not forcing districts to do transportation if they don't want to do transportation. So that's why CSBA is backing that bill. And I was actually asked to go testify to the Assembly Education Committee on this bill in support of. And I was going to take Jenny's stories with me, but unfortunately I'm going to be in Washington. So I have to write a testimonial. So I'm submitting a testimonial. And I'm going to put those stories in, Jenny, all about the slow fill versus the quick fill. They're going to know a lot about that.
They break down more.
Oh, see, I'm going to have to call you tomorrow. So I just want to say is that I know that it seems like we're constantly battling, but advocacy, as Jordan said, is the key. Keep telling the story because you get the little wins that hopefully become the bigger wins. Michelle had brought up to me about the bill that would require districts to ask parents if they have a gun in the house. What is the access of the students to the gun? What are the safety measures? All that making us like the enforcement of gun control. And so I brought it up in stand-ups and that became part of that conversation. And thank goodness that did not make it out of committee. So, I mean, that's why we need stand-ups, which is the county advocacy. That's why we do keep our voices, why we talk to our legislators, why we do this, because we just need to do one little win at a time to make a difference for our district. And so I want to thank Jenny because let me tell you, those stories that she gives me are the best stories ever. And they do make an impact with our elected officials. And CSBA uses the RIM stories, especially our transportation stories, in their advocacy. So thanks, Jenny, so much. Love you, babe.
So just on a side note, today in our state superintendent meeting that we have every Thursday, districts were sharing their stories of the late start and the impact that they didn't realize. Now they have to start that at the beginning of the school year and the impact of sports and athletes and facilities impact because of improper lighting and to run all of these events at night. And parents are now kind of coming out of the woodworks to board meetings because they didn't realize this was a real thing that's really starting. And so people were sharing ideas today. So I was thankful we're defined as rural, but so far. So, but it was very interesting to hear all of this because they were talking about folks that don't read emails or don't read publications or announcements. And so all this is coming to light and there should have been money to back that bill because school districts are scrambling for sporting venues that are well lit and can handle nighttime activities. So it was a very interesting conversation. I was just a little relieved listening to it.
And the interesting part too is the California State PTA came out in support of that bill. And when I was at the district PTA meeting, I was coming unglued and the state PTA rep was there at the meeting and I'm like, do you understand the consequences of what you just did? And she's like, it's just because the studies. And I'm like, do you understand the ramifications, the unintended consequences? So she's like, you're a school board member, aren't you? I'm like, yes, I am. And then, so anyways, we had a little titty tat there. And now the interesting part is that you're right, parents and students that are impacted by this bill are coming unglued. They cannot even believe it. The students are realizing that their work schedule, that they're going to get home way later from sports. All these things were not talked about at all. It was just, you get to sleep in, you get to sleep in. Nothing else was talked about. And now the roosters are coming home. Yeah, that's what it is. So just saying. I'm like, yeah, you should have been, your district should have been putting up a fight too, and you didn't.
Trustee Gardner, what are you going to do in Washington DC?
Talk, no. Tell her. So there are meetings, so on Monday, we get a prep, and then we start meetings, and we meet with different, people in different departments. But the biggest one is Department of Education, we're super excited about. And we have our talking points, like I told you, biggest one, of course, is special education. And then we meet with the actual legislators on Capitol Hill for 2 days. So we'll be in meetings for 2 days on the Hill. So we've been totally prepped for security issues, and now COVID has changed the COVID restrictions. I now have to do some sort of certificate thing, attesting to be vaccinated or maybe. And so I'm really excited. Now I have to just figure out what I'm going to wear and the right shoes, because last time I wore heels and that was not a good thing. Just saying. At the end, they just took my heels off and went barefoot down the hall of the House of Representatives. I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah, that was a sight to behold.
Thank you for that information, Trustee Gardner.
Spanish boots and socks.
Yes.
11.4, Equity and Social Justice Committee report. Just a brief report on that, and that is at our last meeting. And I want to remind you that the Equity and Social Justice Committee is made up of a cross-section of people, from administrators, students, staff, parents, and even a couple of board members. And the committee is working on, and just this last week spent a significant amount of time on coming up with a mission statement for the committee that will be presented eventually to the board. And the beauty of it is that there was dialogue and discussion with all of these different individuals and all of their different backgrounds that came into trying to form a statement. Now, we're still in that process. But I should also say that a lot of that's coming also out of the listening that Dr. Judy White has been doing across the district, particularly at the middle school and at the high school. And the student involvement has been very important. There's been things that we've been hearing and learning from them that I think is in some ways eye-opening at times. I'm going to just say some of it's troubling, what we hear that the students are experiencing on a couple of our campuses, and that there are more issues of social justice than we might want to admit that are coming out from our students. And that's the good news, is that they're willing to share and we're listening. And from that, we're preparing a statement for our committee, which we will be presenting back to the board. But I also appreciate the leadership that Dr. Judy White has been giving. Very, very helpful, very sensitive, very open, and really guiding a process that is making sure that we're listening to all voices. And I think that's very important in this process. So, any questions?
I have a question, just as far as reporting back and knowing that we have a lot of representation from various stakeholders. I personally would find it really interesting if they were to come and actually do some of the reporting to us. That would be, if they were willing to do it, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. Jordan?
I'm pleased that we're hearing these types of stories. It's unfortunate, but I'm pleased that we are having the opportunity to listen to that. Might there be an opportunity for us board members that aren't on the committee to maybe give those stories in writing, whether it's anonymous or not, just to understand?
So Dr. White has given guidance on that. And so because of the sensitivity of those reports, that she has prepped that committee and trained that committee on reading those reports. So she is part of her conclusion of her work this school year will be to come back and report in public session to the entire board. So we'll let her handle that.
Yeah,
We're all getting this work. Lisa, I'm getting one too. So elderly, like that endangered.
Okay, so
Okay, it's not a school of.
So I think let's refer to her on that guidance right now, because she really guided us through a process as a group. And even for myself, I was the only one allowed to keep a copy, because I worked directly with Mph administration in those comments, because they were not a part of the training. Ms. Burke is in the group, and so she's received that training to look at those comments as well. So I would like to let Dr. White guide us in that process, if that's okay. Because she really warned us about taking those comments out of context.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll share that with Dr. White. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
12.0 action calendar. 12.1 superintendent approval to revise the attached administrative regulations and ARs to our policies and procedures. The revisions were in response to negotiations between the California School Employees Association, CSEA, and the River of the World Unified School District. Fiscal impact, none.
So moved.
Cindy, motion.
Seconded.
Cindy, Jordana. Any discussion?
Just appreciation that we've been able, that administration and CSEA work together to be able to make these revisions. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Unanimous. 12.2 personnel services approval of the personnel page fiscal impact to be determined. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Cindy,
Seconded.
Jordana. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Do I need to ask if there's no's if we've all said aye? Are there any nays? Personnel services approval of the settlement agreement and the resignation of employee number 479. Fiscal impact to be determined. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Cindy,
Seconded.
Jordana? I don't think is this open to discussion. I didn't think so. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. 12.4 personnel services approval of the 2022, 2023, and 2023-2024 school year calendars. Fiscal impact, none. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Cindy? Seconded. Jordan? Any discussion? I appreciate the work also that's been done to try to formulate those calendars and get them merged together for all schools. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, sorry. Any opposed? Carried unanimously. 12.5 personnel service approval of a tentative agreement between RIM Teachers Association, RTA, and RIM World Unified School District, the district regarding Article 13, fiscal impact, $963,536, personnel, various accounts.
So moved.
Cindy,
Seconded.
Jordana? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. 12.6 business services approval of resolution number 2122-16, adoption of fee justification study, fiscal impact to be determined. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Cindy,
Seconded.
Brianna, any discussion?
Just wanted to thank Jenny for walking me through that study, because I didn't understand it as well. Now I have a very good understanding of it. That's because Jenny sat through and walked me through the entire study, page by page. And it's unfortunate for the district, but I think a lot of homeowners and other construction folks will be happy because the fee went down based on the recommendation of the study.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Jenny. All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. You heard me under my breath say,
Sure.
right?
yeah,
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 that was
under my breath,
unanimous.
it was, yeah.
Sure, minutes.
It's dated unanimous. It's 12.7, business services, approval of resolution number 2122-17, imposition of level 1 school fees effective June 2022. Fiscal impact to be determined. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Cindy?
Seconded.
Brianna? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Now the consent calendar, 13.0, consent calendar items pulled for separate vote and discussion to be taken into consideration during agenda item 14.0.
I'd like to pull 13.1 all the way through 13.22, please.
Oh my.
I'm just kidding now.
I am smacked.
Did you want to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Zarate?
No, thank you.
No, you sound good too.
I think he took a lesson from me.
It's good to have you here.
You too.
So,
That's a lot of work to pull.
all right, hearing no motion. Then we'll, okay, and some of these no.
You just read the numbers.
Just read the numbers.
Okay.
So
13.1, 13.2, 13.3, 13.4, 13.5, 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, 13.9, 13.10, 13.11, 13.12, 13.13, 13.14, 13.15, 13.16, 13.17, 13.18, 13.19, 13.20, 13.21, 13.22. Is there a motion?
So moved. Mr. Hill, stop.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Moved by Cindy, second by Jordana. Any discussion?
I am very appreciative of the donations listed in these items.
Yes.
I think it's very exciting, especially I was excited to see the Inland Empire Communities Foundation get the donations. A lot of other organizations on the mountain that have received grants from IUCF. So it's good to see that they're spending some of those grant dollars here in our communities.
Good. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. There were no items removed from the consent calendar, so we'll move past 14.0. 15.0, governance team future agenda items planning. 15.1, time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings.
Do not look at me. No.
No, you're all over here. So actually, my eyes are on all three of you. So Jordan, since it's just you and I at this meeting, do you have anything that you want to add to this?
I think our governance calendar is full enough.
Thank you. Agreed.
Cindy, will you be reporting out about your trip for Washington and your legislative update next time?
I thought we were gonna put these in as like its own agenda item.
Okay,
Oh, you mean NSB or coast to coast?
the coast to coast.
I can do legislative. Let's not add anything.
Okay,
Yeah, just let's keep it
so I'd
on
like to
there.
hear how it goes,
Yeah, you want the gossip?
except for the high heels and the shoes off.
Yeah, I'll get some good gossip.
Okay.
16.0, future meeting dates. Board meeting workshop, May 5, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. Renton High School Library, 27400 Highway 18, Lake Arrowhead, California. By the way, there was some confusion with Mr. Gray that workshop was on 12th.
Yes, you mentioned that. That's
He stated that
I
it was the 12th.
I said the 5th, and he said you need the 12th.
We need to-
Okay, well, so we'll clarify with him.
And I wonder about,
Was he not available on the fifth?
We don't know.
We'll find out.
And what, and it's probably late in the school year to possibly try this, but not possibly meeting at other school sites to give them to possibly consider that.
Start fresh. I'm saying, let's start it next year, let's start it fresh. Let's get done this year and write it out.
The new district office facilities will also have a boardroom. So, using this equipment, so we will discuss places and locations.
I think the challenge of moving locations was logistical this year because it's new equipment, streaming, and being able to move that was, I think, the logistical challenge for this year.
But I love the idea and what has happened in the past. In fact, in my meeting that I just talked about earlier, I started out by introducing the fact that a couple of years ago, 3 presidents from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade each made presentations to the school board at Valley and Chapman Elementary School, because the school board was meeting there. So the idea, Jordan, is just a really tremendous thing.
Just let's start back next year. Let's get back to normal next year. And then Mrs. Whiteside gives really good treats.
Tori does too.
Oh, Tori does too.
No,
She gives me treats all the time. too.
no, this is
Oh,
what
we're on-
you get here at Grim. This is what you get at Grim.
Oh, wait, and that's a competition. I'm sorry. Just give me treats.
Okay, so just so we clarify, we'll double check on that and confirm that we're the 5th.
Well, we are the 5th, that is on our calendar.
That's what I thought.
So,
Okay,
Yeah, I'll email.
so we'll confirm
is
with
that
Mr. Brett.
scheduled?
Oh, I haven't been.
Okay.
Thank you. Regular board meeting, May 26th, 2022 at 5:30 PM, Rim High School Library, 27400 Highway 18, Lake Arrowhead, California. 17.0, recess to close session if necessary, and it is necessary. So we will be recessing to close session.